Our next speaker is Ari Blaze. Her favorite Animal Crossing neighbor is Hazel. And yeah, 100%. They're kind of all my favorite neighbors, but Hazel gets a special shout out for sure. As we come back in, let's talk about accessibility. Everyone, please give a very warm welcome in the chat and in the Discord to Ari Blaze.
Hi, everyone. Um, yeah, as Katie said, Hazel and I are BFFs. And if she were giving this talk, she would introduce it by saying, hey, hotshot, let's learn about accessibility with bridges and ramps. Unibow. But now that you've met Hazel, let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm Ari, and I like to make pretty UIs and accessible UIs at Embark Vet. And now that we've all gotten to know each other, let's go over our flight plan. We'll start out with the dodo's eye view of disabilities. Then we'll be ready to open the gates and have some visitors to our island to talk about to talk about a little story. After we've had some visitors and they like what we see, we can share some DIY recipes and resources. Then we're going to head over to resident services and work on some island improvements. Finally, we'll go outside to the town square where I can answer any questions that you have to ask. All right, I think that flight plan sounds pretty good. Let's get started. So here we are. We're flying on Dodo Airlines to our island. And if we look at our window, we can see a little bit of a 5,000-foot overview of disabilities. So there are 4 categories of disabilities. These are by no means exhaustive, but they are a very good place to start when understanding disabilities. We have mobility, which has to do with things like walking, motor control, arm movements, wrist movements, joints, things like that. Visual, how many colors we can see and how well we can see them. Hearing, how well we can hear and processing that information after we hear it. Cognitive, people's brains are different, and some things that are easy for some people are hard for others. That isn't all there is to disabilities, though. There's another key aspect to go over before we do some island hopping. So the way I like to start stuff like this off is asking people if you've ever had an accessibility accommodation in the past. If you have, please drop an emote in the chat or the Discord. Okay, cool. Neat. It looks like there's a few of you. So for those of you who didn't react, you're about to learn something new. Disabilities have different durations. Permanent is probably the one that most comes to mind with this when we think of disabilities. These are things that are long-term, like nerve damage, vision impairments, and they last part or most of someone's life. But we have 2 other types as well. Temporary, this is for short-term things like having a broken bone or surgical recovery. I have had friends who've had vocal polyps removed and they were unable to speak while they were recovering. This is an example of a temporary disability. And then finally, there's situational. Things that happen because of the environment or things that we are doing. This is things like driving a car or when you wake up in the middle of the night and it's dark in your room and you have to walk to the other side to turn the light on, hopefully avoiding busting your knee on your nightstand. Finally, it's important to remember that disabilities are not Boolean. I know that it seems very simple looking down from very high up here, but there is a lot of nuance to these as well. Many screen reader users can see. Some people can see perfectly, but they use screen readers to assist with other disabilities. I, for one, use it to assist with my dyslexia. Mobility disabilities does not mean wheelchair bound or that they cannot get up and walk out of their wheelchair. It's an accessibility accommodation. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's on or off. Many disabilities are invisible. You cannot tell if someone has one just by looking or interacting with them. With all that in mind, what do we focus on, particularly within tech and DevOps? Well, all disability types can need help in an office setting. Mobility disabilities require special keyboards and other peripherals. Visual disabilities can make it hard to see things on the screen or items on projectors. Hearing disabilities will require accommodation in meetings, such as live captioning, which we have here, and voice calls. Cognitive disabilities can mean things like wall of text in your documentation or loud colors in your UI can make comprehension difficult, and using those tools can be harder. Well, here we are. I hope everyone had a nice flight. You are a new resident rep. We wanted you here to improve the island's appearance. You know, make everything pretty. Are you ready to get started? There's a lot of work to do, but that's great. You're good at building beautiful islands. Plus, everyone on your team is really friendly and super helpful. All right, so you get started cleaning up. After some work, you invite your friend Blathers over. Your island's looking really great, and you're excited to show it off to your friends. He tells you it looks nice, but asks how easy it is to get bugs across the river. You realize now that there are large parts of your island that people can't visit. Blathers helps you by telling you about island accessibility and giving you a pole vault to start. Later, you ask Tom Nook for a ladder when you need to get some flowers from the cliff. Pole vaults and ladders are like accommodations. They're an excellent and very effective way to get started with accessibility. On your team, some examples of pole vaults and ladders could be browser extensions. I use Stylish sometimes to correct internal or third-party tools that have inaccessible color palettes. I also like to check tools against the Ally colorblind empathy test. It's very useful and can show you what a site or a tool looks like when someone has color vision impairments. Accessibility Explorer in browsers. This can help you understand what web tools are going to be easily usable with screen readers and other devices. Or better yet, you can use a screen reader yourself. I would actually highly recommend this, as it can give you a lot of understanding for what a non-sighted user can experience. If you know someone who's joining your team has a vision impairment, ask about accommodations for them and see if they have a preferred screen reader, and you can have it pre-installed when they get started. Most importantly, start getting other people on your island aware of accessibility. It's always good to have friends. When I first started, I worked with one of our designers, and we're still working together to make the product more accessible. So things are looking good. You've started making accommodations on your team. You have a group of friends to help you. You're even preparing accommodations ahead of time. But it's a lot of work crafting pole vaults and ladders, and they take time. And of course, in DevOps, we love to use tools to make things easier and automated. So let's talk about more permanent solutions, or as I like to call them, bridges and ramps. This is where you start working on long-term impacts. Make organization and cultural changes such that accessibility is something that's built in. Basically, you want to change your company culture for the better. So where do we work on our island improvements? Well, it depends a lot on your team. Building bridges and ramps takes time and resources, so you want to place them where it's most effective. See what the needs of your team is. Look for the spots that people need to cross the most and build a bridge there. Hazel, did you have anything that you want to add? Talk to people. That's right. You can always ask questions. People are always willing to give you some input and advice when you're reaching out to give them assistance. Sometimes it's hard to come up with ideas, and sometimes people don't know what they need. Here are a few broad ones that you can use when thinking about what bridges and ramps means on your island. Tools and tech. This is things like making screen readers available by default, including them with install images, if these are things that you use for your IT department. Have a wide variety of peripheral inputs available. braille readers, trackball mice, and large type keyboards at your office. Make sure those get shipped with laptops and peripherals if your employees are remote. Process. Performing accessibility audits on internal and external tools. Accessibility should be a key requirement of any new tools you add, and make sure your meetings have captions done by a human. And finally, environment. Start a trend of writing alt text for images in Slack and ask your coworkers to do the same. If you see someone struggling, help them. Make this an environment where asking for accommodations is encouraged and warmly received. Of course, ideas are great, but the best thing you can do is build communication and empathy. Listen and learn to people with disabilities. They know firsthand what the best thing for themselves is. Sometimes it's a good idea to put your pole vault and ladder in storage. I take 1 day a week where I turn my monitor off and use a screen reader to do my daily work. You'd be amazed at how many things you miss when you can still see the screen. And most importantly, remember, if your tools are not accessible, then they are not usable. Accessibility isn't a nice to have. It's a core functionality of your tools. That was a nice little trip. I hope you enjoyed that island. Let's refresh a bit of what we've learned. Accommodations are a great place to start. Making pole vaults and ladders available is a fast and effective way to make your island more accessible. Once you have some good accommodations in place and we have some more resources and recipes available, it's time to build out some permanent improvements. Change the culture. Remember, accessibility is a state of mind. Iterate and improve. You probably won't get it right the first time, but take feedback and work on it. And of course, remember that everyone is different. Listening and learning is the best skill that you can develop. Empathy and communication are the most important accessibility skills of all. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you learned some things about accessibility today. And now it's time for questions. Please drop them in the Q&A channel, and you can follow me on Twitter at REsHere. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, everybody give it up for Ari in the Twitch chat, in the Discord. Hop in the Q&A channel if you have questions. Ari, that was amazing. I don't know why we don't all have co-presenters who are our neighbors from the island. Love it. I love it. Yeah, anyone who has questions can drop them in there. I love that what you said, that you use a screen reader once a week and you like turn off your monitor, because I absolutely believe you're right. If there is the thing that we're accustomed to using present, we're still going to rely on it a bit. And I think that's a really impressive practice. Do you have suggestions? Like, let's say I don't work in accessibility, but you know, also we kind of all work in accessibility. What's a good place to start? Like if I want to do something like that.
So I started learning by, I started joining a couple of accessibility groups that were local to me. You can look around for that. I also did a lot of reading on the internet. There are some really good articles actually on uk.gov, I think it is. And those have some like really good accessibility recommendations. There's also Ally Project, spelled A11Y.
Okay, good to know.
and that's got some good resources too. Basically, it's sort of just like I started by knowing nothing, and I had a friend who told me a few things about it. His name was not Blathers, though. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble. But yes, I learned a lot from him, and then I sort of just started learning more and more and more about how to make things more accessible. And I'm still working on it. I'm still learning. That's where we all are. But I think it's good to sort of at least be aware of this stuff and try to work on making everyone an accessibility advocate. My ideal end goal of this presentation is that you all go back to your teams and you start thinking about accessibility and start asking questions. I know there's sort of the joke, will this scale? Well, maybe ask the question, is this accessible?
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to take this talk and take it back to some of my groups at work. One question from the speaker Q&A, and then we'll move on. Do you have a preferred screen reader for someone who's never used one before?
So if you're on Mac, VoiceOver is built in and has a good tutorial. For Windows, NVDA is a very good one. It's free, unlike JAWS. And if you have some extra money, I highly recommend donating to the NV Access organization. It's started by two non-sighted programmers, and they're giving a screen reader away for free, which is honestly the way that all screen readers should be. But unfortunately, we're not there yet with every single one of them.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. That's a great recommendation. Thank you, Ari. Everyone, give it up one more time in the Twitch, in the Discord for Ari Blaze. Thank you. I'm pretending to be a crowd.